Welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I am Nerder Doug, and tonight I am hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdic Dave. How are you doing tonight, sir?
All things considered, actually, I'm pretty wiped out. It was a long day, but I'm happy to be here. It's refreshing to hang out with you and whoever nerdy folks are in the chat with us.
Yeah, tonight we're talking about possession.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think, man. There was a killer. I don't know if it was a supplement. I don't know what book it was in.
Okay.
But they had, and I don't know if it was third or it was a second edition. I think it was third edition. But they had
Mm-hmm.
rules for demonic possession.
Really? Probably third
And
edition, right, in some splat book.
I think it was too, and they were really good. Like there was like different ways that a demon could possess somebody,
Okay.
and like some of them were like really like there was and they had specific names for them. One was like you were straight up like puppeting the person. Another was
Oh,
like
wait, was this a player option to do to other people?
no, this is
Oh,
that you could do to this demons
it
could
was
do
for.
it
Okay, okay,
to someone else, right?
okay, gotcha.
And one of them was straight up puppet them and take control of their body and use
Mm-hmm.
them. Another one was, I think they called it a rider, right? Where they basically just hide in someone.
Mm-hmm.
And it also made them like harder to detect and stuff. They just couldn't take an active role in the world around them.
Okay.
And I think they might have been, like aware of the world around them and everything. And there was like a third option, which I don't quite remember.
I wonder what it
Uh,
might have been. Let's see. We had one that was puppeting, one that was just riding along. So I guess it'd be something in the middle there.
yeah. But it
Maybe
was
something where you were aware of it and it was like whispering in you and like compelling you or like trying to tempt you. A tempter.
yeah, you could definitely go down that road. But I've even thought about it for fifth edition, and like
Mm-hmm.
it's such a classic trope, right? The demonic possession. If you're a
Sure.
fan of Supernatural, like the demons always had to ride around in a meat suit. They couldn't just be demons anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh, those are great things for like true sight and stuff too, or characters that have those sorts of abilities to like,
yeah,
see, or like they live, give them a magic item where it's like, man, you can see the demons in people.
yeah, yeah, that would be a lot of fun as well. And I feel like True Sight, like in whatever version, would like see the person being puppeted, but might
Mm-hmm.
not see like the rider, and like that was the benefit of the demon not
Okay.
being active because it could hide as well.
Yeah.
Ghost possession works too, and supernatural beings that are undead definitely.
Oh,
Uh,
there's quite a few creatures with possession.
yeah, they have that. It actually
They're
have that
most
ability.
spoiler alert. They're mostly undead or fiends.
Yeah, but like as a GM, say you wanted to uh like power up your villain, much like they introduced in Mythic Odysseys, where it's like, oh, you kill it, but this isn't my final form,
Mm-hmm.
kind of deal. You could do the same thing. Like the players get done a kind of like kick-ass tough battle with an archmage, and then like they kill the archmage, and they totally do the thing, the smoke issues
Get
forth,
yeah, get
and the
hovered
demon
up into
pops
the
out,
air. Yeah.
and yeah, and now you're gonna fight the real threat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they get the killing blow on the archmage, and his eyes kind of roll back, and like his voice changes, he speaks, and he's like, oh, now you've done it, now you've released the true threat, or some ominous
Mm-hmm.
thing, right?
Yeah.
And to then have the a pit fiend jump out of them, or a ballard jump out of them, or whatever your favorite flavor of demon or devil is.
Or if it
uh,
even is like their same body and they just, their eyes start glowing and they just like hover up into the sky and all this dark energy comes around. They're possessed by demonic forces and stuff after that their
yeah,
their
a
uh,
third.
their fiendish lord wasn't done with them yet.
You do three versions. One is the
Sure.
one is the living archmage. The other is the undead archmage. And after the vassal is destroyed, then you have to deal with the demon within.
Sure.
Um,
Hey, that's a great way to keep a like an ongoing villain too. I mean, those don't all have to happen right there.
yeah. No, that's true.
Oh yeah, mind control is definitely like a form of possession. I mean, you're inhabiting another's. And there's like, I mean, is beast sense or whatever that spell that is? That's sort of like, you're when you have your familiar, you're possessing them, you're taking over there. You're putting your mind in something else, basically,
Yeah.
right?
Well, what about a villain? What about introducing a villain that at first appears to be a ghost possessing someone, but it's like a mage that had a magic jar spell go awry, right?
Yeah.
And they can't get back to their body, and they're just like jumping from body to body.
Quantum leap style.
Quantum leap style.
Isn't there that ring that is like that too? Like if you die while you're wearing it,
the mind shielding ring.
Yeah, like your mind goes into it and like.
Yeah.
I think, and also sentient weapons can try to possess you too.
Sentient weapons can absolutely try and possess you. They can force you into a contest of wills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that could be. It's kind of a sensitive, when you talk about like possessing like player characters and stuff too, because it's like, well, that gets into like tricky territory with agency and things like that. Like you wouldn't want to do it too much. No. And I was actually thinking too, it's like, well, there's even tropes of like maybe a character has like the player would, or the character has like some sort of demonic seed possessing them, or in them. I guess that's something you'd work out with the player. I guess you'd want to check with them, or it's like you're inclined to think like, oh yeah, this would be a cool surprise, but it's like, oh, that might be messed up if like,
well, I mean,
had no clue.
We did the video on the Demonomicon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all that book is but a trap to try and possess you.
It's a sentient thing.
Well, it's not that it's sentient. It's that more than likely when you find it, it's already got demons trapped in it. And like once a week, the most powerful one can try and possess you.
Oh, okay.
And so it's in the game. Just there's no mechanics for it. But also that's okay too, because I also like the idea of like souping up one of your regular encounters, whatever, whether you're using some an NPC or a specific monster, and like if a fiend has certain abilities, supernatural abilities, allowing the monster to use those, things that aren't based on their physiology.
And that's an interesting like mechanical twist too. Like if to use your example of like a pit fiend, I think they can just do fireballs. So it's like if a pit fiend's possessing like a knight or a commoner or something.
Kobold. Yeah.
Did you say a hobo? Oh, a kobold or a hobo. That would be weird too.
Hobo kobold.
Yeah. Any hobo that flings around fireballs at will is.
Why is this hobo kobold harassing us? Things just got real because he just dropped a massive fireball.
Christopher Keller asks, are there any parasites that possess or take over the host? Yeah, that's certainly, but that seems to me more like a possession kind of. There's a feeling like, well, that you're still there, something just controlling you.
Yeah.
But like an intellect of ours, it's like you're dead. It's just moving your body around.
You're basically just the Egger suit at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So,
or even like the little Sarah bugs in Out of the Box.
Yeah,
similar to intellect of ours, but
which were going to be intellect of ours, right?
Yeah.
yeah. So like when we originally did a lot of those encounters, it wasn't done as per the SRD.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to do some fancy footwork there.
Yeah, but like all challenges, I think it ultimately we got to make our own thing, and we had a different twist on it and stuff. I think no, it's lethal. Good first out of your head. Possession can also be like a really useful like storytelling tool, right? Like I think in Curse of Strahd and several other published adventures I've seen, there's parts with like ghosts and things, and it's like even our own book Island in the Storm, I think there's like ghostly presences that if they just straight up like offer to possess somebody to like guide you somewhere, or because they can't leave the place, so they have to inhabit a body. That
Yeah,
can be, and that's a good way to like show, not tell things, right? Instead of just like a lore dump, it's like, well, now you're part of it because this ghost is riding along with you.
making the players interact with it as well as like it should always be a story thing anyway. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's cool to power up your monster with this thing, but for something like that, hopefully it's just not something you find in a room of a dungeon, but something you've been building up towards, throughout the game. Or even like the idea that they defeat some demonic presence or power, or they think they do, and instead of going back to hell or the abyss where it's supposed to go, it finds someone else to ride along with until they find a more suitable host, right? And
Yeah.
then so it's a
Oh
way to
yeah.
bring back
Wow.
that villain.
What if you? I mean, boy, talk about a dramatic beat. What if you put that question to the heroes, right? Like they defeat this thing, but it needs to be contained in somebody for a time. It's like maybe will one of them step up and try to let this force inhabit them and have to struggle against it until they can get rid of it. That'd be a pretty awesome story beat, right? And those sorts of situations too, is like that's when you can really start making use of like a lot of different sorts of spells and features that you might not normally do, like magic circle. Awesome spell, but I mean, it's not really a combat spell. It takes 10 minutes to cast and stuff. But and I bet you could probably appreciate things like that because you like the show Supernatural, where it's like that's just cool. You think like, oh, we got to like draw this intricate circle and bind
Yeah.
this demon inside, and then like do other things to try to you know banish them or whatever, and finding maybe you don't have access to all those spells and things, and that can be an awesome quest.
So Viking Beard 1970, aside from killing the host, what process would it also work? Like you mentioned, having to magic circle them, having to contain them, then find a
Protection from
ritual.
evil and good, yeah, rituals and you know
Like because if you want it to be more of a story element, the solution can't be as simple as use this feature,
mhm.
right, from the game. You'd want it to be a
Right.
little bit more. You would want them to have to figure out how to uncover the information they need. You might allow those features to contain the threat while you figure it out, but then afterwards you're going to have to do the thing, um, if you want to separate the entity from the host, and possibly save the host, because maybe the host is someone you don't want to see killed, right? Or
Hmm.
harm come to. I mean, I kind of did this in The Moon Rises.
Hmm.
I
Oh yeah.
had, I put an ambush monster in for the party, and it was a little girl had a demon put in her as a trap for the party,
Hmm.
and so which creates this moral quandary of how do we how do we defeat the monster without hurting the NPC?
Hmm.
And frankly, the thing you mentioned is, hey, you could do this thing. What if that's exactly what happened, right? One of the party members offered themselves up for possession over the little girl.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was an awesome session. That was like sort of like a struggle of wills of that going on. It was a lot of fun. um yeah, it's just sort of that sort of rapport you develop with players as you play, though, too, because like, at the same time, use thinking with like that magic circle example, if you don't want to just kill the innocent person that's possessed by somebody, that's kind of on the players, but it's like I would appreciate at least the fact that they thought to use those things instead of just killing it, because there is
Yeah.
tools like that, and depending on how fantastical or however you play your game, I was just looking up the spell. It's like, well, it's not super powerful. It's third level, requires holy water or powdered silver and iron worth 100 gold pieces, which the spell consumes. So, if you play the kind of game where like you play with the components and things like that, sure, those might be easy, but not immediately at hand. I mean, to find those things. So there's a little bit of like time involved. It's like, well, we have to gather these things in order to do this spell to, bind the thing. So that can be a whole lot of adventure, which would be driven by the players. because that was
Yeah.
their choice to use that spell or whatever. Maybe shows
Uh,
their funny comments in the.
yeah, double underscore. Do you remember Scott G's wizard character that magic jarred an NPC just because in Ted's game? Yeah, that was like a horrific moment in the game for the rest of the characters because I don't know, like I guess like Scott did this weird disconnect thing where I have a new power and I want to use it. And but like in the game, like if someone did that, you'd be like horrified, right? And we were because he didn't like there was no objective or end goal. It was just like I'm an adventurer, I'm more powerful than you, so I can do this thing to you.
Well, and in some way, though, that's kind of interesting role playing, though, too, because you think like a powerful wizard that's just craving power and knowledge, and learned how to do that would, like in a clinical, detached way. It's not. It's like almost like a lawful neutral. It feels like to me. It's just like,
Scott
I just want to know. It's like I must know the answer to this question.
Scott through that game did not build a very good adventurer. He built an amazing arch villain at some point. Like that was an arch villain waiting to happen. Aislinn the Blind Seer. I mean, he lost an eye because of something that happened in the game. And then he got the robe of eyes. And also, like, Scott started bringing the Tarokka deck to the game and wanted to make it a part of his character in the game. And Ted's a cool DM. He's like, yeah, we can absolutely do that. And I forget what kind of wizard he was.
I want to say he was a diviner.
I don't think
I know I didn't play with you guys, but he's an NPC and he's in a bunch of posts that I've read. So
yeah. I don't actually think he was a diviner though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he might have been. I don't know if he was also an invoker or not. I'll have to ask Ted and see if he remembers or if he still has that information. Now, Aislinn the Blind Seer would work great if he was, but I don't think he was. But after he got the robe of eyes, he plucked out his other eye and blinded himself. But also, he had like these really crazy theories and in character. And wanted to do these crazy things.
You don't say.
And, one of the things that he did, it's not exactly possession, but it's along the same lines. One of the things that he did, other side from that magic jar thing, is he put out this idea into the world as a character that he could do something and create this artifact and pitched it to the town. The town, like, council was infested with blood cultists, and they're like, really? So they captured the mayor and replaced him with a doppelganger in order to torture him and extract information about this artifact that Aislinn wanted to devise and make up. So like that's kind of it's not like possession, but it's another level of replacing like a player character because the mayor was Ryan's character.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, he happened to take a hiatus from the game for a little while and then came back. And in that meantime, his character got kidnapped and tortured over this artifact that, in theory, Aislinn couldn't actually make. But yeah, so he was well on this. I'm a little disappointed Ted never turned him into one of our villains.
Well, hey, there's still time. So there's some interesting comments going on. Dracone said they came up with a class for D&D where the character can manifest properties of other creatures, but they suppose the class has a possession-like effect where the inverse happens to them. That reminds me of the Path of the Azure, which was a barbarian path over on DM's Guild that I came up with. That's why I mentioned that comment. But that was sort of like the blue magic from Final Fantasy, where when you kill things, you can take their actions, basically. So if you want to go check it out, it's Path of the Azure. Let's see, we already answered Viking Beard's question. How about a seance encounter? PCs calling spirits, and there can be more than one spirit and possibly a possession in the room. That stuff's cool. Any kind of like, I feel like, I don't know, maybe you'll agree as a fellow DM and with much more experience too. Like,
not
for me, I think a lot of reasons I fall back on combat is usually when I feel like the players aren't into it, right? So like something like that, a seance, it's like so moody and atmospheric. I would be throwing the ball around a lot. Like what, like what kind of light, what is it lit like in here? Like asking the
Yeah.
players that, because it's like, that otherwise you're just going to be talking a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
So like getting them involved in like, well, what would it look like, and putting them in the mindset, and that also helps because it's like, in a roundabout way, I'll tie it to the time you're sort of possessing them, by like sort of guiding people's perception. Like if they start describing it, then they're going to be thinking about it, and that's going to inform what their characters do. Like in the setting that they've helped devise with you together. So yeah, that could be totally cool. Yeah, and and that's the awesome thing we also so often mention in these chats when we're talking about topics. It's like, these relatable real world things, seances and stuff. It's like, but there really is ghosts and magic and all that stuff. So you could totally, it's not some charlatans smoke and mirrors. It's like there really is ghosts and spirits, and there is another world that they're contacting, and it's a straight up crystal ball for real and stuff.
Well, that gives you like a fun layer too, right?
Right.
Where you can talk about it and play it up and do it as if it's the real thing, and then and have it be a red herring, and have it only be have them actually be a charlatan, and the players will buy into it so much easier, because they're used to that being a reality of the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, what if you flipped it around? Like, there's a lot of, characters have access to a tremendous amount of abilities that they could be on the other side. I would totally, like, if a group got together and they wanted to play charlatans or real seers that just like drove the story by like, we're going to go to these places and like just run a business like that. But it's like, if they're into, if players get into something, you're golden. Whatever it is for the most part, unless it's just freaky shit they want to do. But.
Yeah. Who's the medium guy?
The medium
guy? Do shows. I'm sure there's
like bunch. John Edwards, like
John.
Yeah. If that's that could be a lot of fun of just like, well, how tell me your setup, like that you can plan that the same as you plan a dungeon delve. It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna get like I'm gonna use major image to do this, and and then obviously as a DM, I'm going to throw complications in their way. Maybe they really do contact the spirit world, or like bring something forth that they weren't, or somebody that's trailing them that thinks they're charlatans and is investigating, like the Master Investigator CBG that we came up with. That was one of the things that was like, well, adventurers often get up to strange things, so it's not unlikely that somebody would be keeping tabs on them.
No, that would definitely make sense. And this kind of dovetails too to like the discussion we had, me and Ted had last week about cults and cultists, right? Like if you really like once that campaign progressed for a while, if you wanted to really throw the players through a loop, have them bust up the cultist ring and bust in there on them while they're doing a ritual, but oops, you're a little bit late, all the cultists are now possessed by demons or devils. Which turns it into a much different type of encounter for them.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely.
But and also not maybe not even like say per se a combat encounter. Like maybe they don't want to fight the players; they just want to get out of there with their new ride and like into the general population, and they're all wearing robes. Their faces are covered.
Yeah,
and the players like have to figure out how to contain them and catch them all like Find Pokemon them before they can get out, into the world where they might never go. And again,
that's another chance to like use all those cool spells that like don't get used that often. Generally, the basically not combat ones, but like just like we said, like detect evil and good, and all those sorts of things.
Does any of the meta magics increase the area of a spell?
Yeah, I think enlarge, right? Or am I thinking of 3.5? I don't know.
That's what I'm trying to figure out too. If I'm thinking of 3.5, because like imagine like being able to do a magic circle, but you're a sorcerer and you can double the size.
Oh, right.
So now you can capture more things in it.
You know, if I was a DM and several characters could cast that spell, I would probably allow them to make it bigger together if they
Oh,
all,
that'd be, like for that example, like maybe they get
maybe
wind
they
of,
maybe make that part of the quest too. Like you could weave that in where it's like you can, but you're gonna have to get like this rare, thing to make the glyphs or a component or something. And then you can, those it just adds those little complications in,
yeah.
little bumps in the road. What if you could also flip it on script? Like, what if I just watched Inception the other day? I don't know if you're shot. Spoiler alert, mild, but they go to research something, and there's these people that go to this place to enter this dream world. Like most of their lives, they're just
Yeah.
sleeping because it's like that's their reality now. It's like, what if people like want to be possessed by different things because it's like that's thrilling or a different way to experience life, for living people.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Or maybe they rent out their bodies.
Yeah. To like spirits that want to, or
Yeah.
in a good way, they could want to reconnect with family members, or it could be nefarious too. Maybe if somebody wants to get
Both.
revenge on somebody, right?
There's a lot of wiggle room there to have fun with that. I feel like.
Let's see. Oh, double underscore 80%. By the way, good on them for the deep lore cuts. Man, they're watched all those.
I know. You know, that's still one of our most watched playlists.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So they say, would you amp up the Circle of Spores druid to be possessed by the symbiote instead of wild shaping? The NPC relinquishes control. Yeah, and I think that's really cool with Spores druid, especially because like mushrooms in IRL, they do sort of like connect through spores and the soil and everything and form like neural sort of networks with nearby things and like talk to each other. So I played a Circle of Spores druid, and that's how you like imagined their animate and everything was too, or it's just like, well, I'm just extending these spores and they're talking to the spores that are growing at me.
Oh yeah, the Calistar and Inspired as well, where they actually are hosts for other spirits that come and live in them.
That's super cool concept. Yeah, any of that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, those are awesome role-playing things too. It's sort of like the Asimir's whatever it's called, spiritual guide or whatever. It's like spiritual just any of those things. It's like, that's like your DM connection point. It's like, oh yeah, but also for the player too. I mean, they can imagine it's their character. It's like, how do they imagine that they have this, celestial being or spirit riding along?
And I was kind of thinking about that too when we were getting ready for this video. That like, it doesn't have to be undead. It doesn't have to be a fiend or a demon. It could be a celestial creature,
a fae, an elemental, even. I mean, a presence, but a fae for sure. I could see. I think somebody in the chat mentioned that.
So in Supernatural, they have like the angels, and they possess hosts in order to take mortal forms, just kind of like the demons do. And then when they do that, it burns out the person who is supposed to be in there. It kind of kills them, but they have to get permission from the person to use their body. I think the angels anyway. And we just did a session 0 for a Monster of the Week game, and James is playing. He's playing a divine, and he's like going through his backstory. He's like, "Well, what if I was an angel that fell with Lucifer, and I decided what I did was wrong, and I wanted to work my way back through, redeem myself, try and get back into heaven."
And, that's a great arc.
And and so he has a host body to do that in. Which is, I'm like, and then he's kept going. I was like, wait a minute, you were just using Castiel's storyline. He's like, oh, I think I am. That's fine. But yeah, there's definitely fun ways to do it.
Draco mentions that they rarely see people use like the iron and brass and those different metals to repel things. I like that kind of stuff, but it's hard in D&D because part of D&D is killing the monsters that stand in your way. So it's like confronting, like, I'll say this, even if you wanted to do that and presented a much more powerful creature than the players could handle, right? With the intention of like, then they'll like get defeated and think they'll learn they have to go get this thing. They'll just try to fight it and they'll probably die trying, or they'll just, go take a long rest and go try again. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the way people, like, it just is a symptom of it, and it's like it's a tough challenge to overcome when you're playing D&D. But yeah, like and it's I guess that's sort of represented the game by like previous editions, like damage. What was it called? They had like DR/cold iron. It's like
yeah. Damage reduction. It was just
unless you used like a cold iron weapon or whatever. But to get away from D&D, the guy you had on today from Free League, that game base, and that's what that is about. It's sort of like in the same way I think Witcher is like that a lot too, where it's like there's a creature, you got to find out how to break its defenses or how to
how to even Monster of the Week is a game, but it's also a style of play.
Yeah. Or in the same like those folklore things where it's like if you hammer an iron nail in your door frame, then like these malignant spirits can't cross the threshold and stuff. Yeah, I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, or you have to spike their shadow to hold them in place, right? Weird things like that.
But again, with D&D, it's just like instead of like hammering the nail, it's like I'm just gonna cast Lehman's Tiny Hut and we're fine. Like nothing can get in.
I like the idea that Double Underscore just went in a completely different direction with possession. hasn't your players catching a possession charge? I don't think not that I remember. I've played and run a lot of games, so I'm not sure. But I'm not sure if I ever slipped something on them so that they could get caught with it.
That bounty hunter game that I ran, like with the Nord stuff, I used chickening out to just break the ice basically on their first session. And the cockatrices were contraband goods, and they took possession of the ship and like took it to the.
You like starting all your adventures on a boat, don't you?
It's awesome. I've written a post, but yeah, it's like there's nowhere to go off the boat. So it's like they're not like we're gonna wander over here. It's a long voyage. So you can, what's that?
No, you're not. You're like all you do. Like you're like, how can I defeat the players doing everything they want to do and they contain them?
But it's also like a long voyage too, and I don't role play out everything. I just like, well, tell me something that like there was a huge wave one day and like so and so almost got thrown overboard. Like, how did you save them and stuff? So that way they'll just start like I just want them to talk to each other and have like things that their characters and then that they can and then the voyage ends. It's like you're in a place that none of you know, so it's not like you can I let people like make stuff up, but it's not like it also lets them if they're from a far off land, it's like well whatever, you can make up your own kingdoms or backstories and it doesn't bother me at all, but I can just like, no, you're here. And you go back there eventually. It's just really
those are great elements, especially when you're homebrewing. Because it's like, do you want to have all this lore that you need to dump on your players because they would technically know? Generally, as a GM, I don't want to. I know some GMs live for that, but I don't want to. And I know a lot of players don't want that either. Not like here, read my omnibus of
but at the same time, people love settings. I think people just like reading the lore, like of games, and letting their imaginations go and playing games there. But mostly I just think they like reading it. Because I like to invite players to make up lore too. It's like add to it, please.
I really do like whenever you can start the players off in kind of like a fish out of water scenario, because then it limits that. And then like what they do learn, they learn through play.
Yes.
Not from here, read this, or here, let me monologue for this session to you, but by actually exploring and doing things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Great point. Yeah, I see what you're saying, because their characters wouldn't know those things. Yes. Yeah. That is cool.
Yeah. Like one of the downsides to the Moon Rises for everyone else was like, they would technically have a basic level of understanding of everything, right? Your character was easy because he came in not knowing, because he had been gone, so he didn't know what happened.
Right.
But it was also like cool because your character had a connection to the past that they didn't understand.
Boy, that was a fun game. Well, you're a great GM, so it was a lot of fun. But anyways, back to Double Underscore's question. So yeah, they took the cockatrices because they were like mercenary bounty hunters, right?
Yeah.
And it was a good business opportunity, and they knew they were contraband. So, and they figured like, well, we know like underworld, how to navigate the underworld. So like the whole first session ended up being like, or the second half of it was them like getting to the port, and then they're like, well, you know, we want to kind of use our contacts and stuff to find some place to unload these cockatrice, or maybe we find out who was shipping them because they were just, you know, it was unusual. And yeah, it was great. And also that campaign also had like I was inspired by the Mandalorian, and so there was like a Beskar like metal that was like very secretive and lucrative that they was like in bounty hunters basically collected. So they were using that to like like leverage things and deals and stuff. It was pretty cool. That Skullduggery book is really good.
Unobtainium.
Yeah, I think I called it green steel.
Yeah, in the Scarlet Sisterhood, I did use drugs, but you're not quite in the way you had mentioned.
They were busting them up.
Yeah, they were the ones trying to bust them up. Although with them, I wouldn't have been surprised if they planted on somebody with that crew. That would have been a Kenna thing to do.
Yeah,
and Deneen would have gone along with it. So
D&D heroes, I guess, are
heroes.
I guess when you're fighting pit fiends, being like a criminal is relatively better. So it's like, yeah, okay. So we're halfway through. I think we had a little bit of stuff to do since it's the first chat of the month.
Yeah, I feel like Ted gave us homework.
Yep, I got it. I got it up.
All right, cool.
So the first thing that we want to mention that is was announced and even mentioned in Forbes magazine, by the way, is that Dirt Artist Ted is one of the stretch goal guest designers for Kobold Press's Vault of Magic Kickstarter, which is live right now. If it hits a certain stretch goal level, then that'll kick in and you'll get to see Nerd Artist Ted's wild magic item forging imagination show up in that book. So we're super excited about that. So go check that out, Vault of Magic.
Yeah, it's closing in on 300,000. I'll drop a link in the chat.
Cool. The other thing is that the giveaway winner was chosen, and that was Clayton Foster. So I'd imagine Ted has probably already sent a contact to them. He showed off what was in the giveaway a few weeks ago, and his note here says he'll show off what is in it. The Clayton one next week when he's on with me.
Yeah, we already.
I want to say it was a lot of stuff. There was like Dragon Heist and like 3 other $50, $30 to $50 books. It was a pretty good haul.
It was one of the better ones for sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, we do a lot of really good giveaways with a lot of cool stuff on there. Yeah, and obviously we're mentioning the giveaway, so you sign up for our newsletter, you can get in on the giveaways. That way there's a form you can fill out and snail mail us over on the website under our giveaway section. And we definitely can't say that we also randomly enter the people from our Patreon, because that would be against Patreon rules.
In fact, the pin post on Patreon has all the different ways to get involved with the newsletter. It's right at the top. Super easy to get in with the giveaways. So you can go check that out.
We used to automatically enter our patrons, but we got our PPs
we don't do
waxed.
that anymore. Morse code. Also, the fan game for March will be run by Nerd Artist Ted. He's selected March 21st at 2 p.m. Eastern for that. Is a list of potential players includes Dinosaur Bob, the Dark Lord Jim, Pari Lekwitz, Edward, Eric Weeder, Runar Sundavor, Susie Bogoyevich Simonson, Jose Camacho, Nicole Clark, and Edward Entwistle. And again, he's probably already contacted them, and it's sort of a first people to reply, get in there, and he'll have all the details for that. And also, if you're interested in playing monthly one-shots with us, that is also through the newsletter.
Yeah. So early on in the newsletter, basically you in one of your welcome emails, you can opt into another email list, and we only use that list to draw those names from.
Mm.
We don't do anything else with it. You won't get any more emails from it. The only thing that'll have to do with is if you get randomly selected to play with us in a game. So this way, we're not contacting everyone on the newsletter list because they may not want to play with us for whatever reason.
Yeah, not to toot our own, well, not absolutely to toot our own horn. Our newsletter is pretty dope right now. It's like if you sign up for it, you get basically almost $20 worth of store credit.
Yeah.
Get a weekly newsletter with cool deals and game stuff that we come up with, and links to good deals and promos and all that kind of stuff. You get a player's guide to Nerdarchy with all our subclasses summarized in there, and something else. I think it was another one of our modules, right? Yeah, it was the first of the Shimmerdark Dreamweaver. That's what it is. So you get that, and you get in on the giveaway, and you're eligible to play monthly games. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm really proud of like the evolution of our newsletter.
Hell yeah.
It's been fun, and like we've done a lot of different things, but our current version, I think, is the best version for us, as creatives, and also for the end user, right? Sometimes we create mechanical things that you can just put right in your game. Sometimes we talk about philosophy and theory. Sometimes it's just
campaign ideas. You had a whole setting that you came up with, sort of basics, which I thought was a lot of fun. It sounded really cool to me.
Yeah, so that's really cool, and also something to geek out about. Like, you've been kind of putting together the newsletters and making them look all nice and snazzy. But I haven't looked at them that much, and I realized we have like a 40% open rate, which is like unheard of.
Oh
for emailing lists. But I think we pack a lot of value in there, right? So for people who want more gaming stuff,
it's got funny GIFs. It's not just a bunch of links, right? Like most newsletters is just
or go buy this or go buy that.
Yeah, right.
Don't worry, we do some of that too. Yeah. We were going to tell you to buy stuff, but also we like to provide a lot of value.
Yeah,
and another creative outlet for us.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things I was thinking about Possession was trying to think of like characters, from like streams or things I know. Percy from first Critical Role's campaign 1 had that demon Orthax that was sort of in possession of him, and that was like a huge amount of storytelling from the beginning on to the end. They went to hell, and he signed like demonic pacts, and made deals with this entity and stuff. So that was pretty cool.
To get in or out of the possession?
Just to sort of not be in control of, or be controlled by it. Just sort of like stand his ground, not get totally possessed by this demonic thing. I think he made some kind of, I don't want to spoil it, but the stuff in the hells was pretty cool. And then also that Titan's Grave show that comes up a lot with people like, oh, I love that show. One of the characters' backstories was he's basically a warlock. He's sort of, in D&D terms. And, he was like locked in this library and sort of like got possessed by this dark entity. And that came up during their play too. So yeah, like that's just, there's so many ways to like blur those lines with like players and GMs through storytelling that are a lot of fun.
We might be getting a lot more rules on Possession soon as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. Ryan Van Richten's guide.
Yeah. Van Richten's guide. Like if you're going to put it someplace, that seems like the place to put it.
Yeah, really. Well, that would be interesting. Yeah, I'm curious to see that, how they come up with it. But it's that fine line of, I guess, it's such a intrusive thing in some ways that it'll be cool. It's cool to have mechanics for things because they've probably taken into account player agency. But if you have a group of people that you trust and like playing with, like in your Moonrises games, it's like there wasn't like a mechanical way that we handled that. It was just because we all wanted to work together, and that was the kind of story we wanted to tell. So
yeah, like I mean, I did make some things up on the fly. Mm-hmm. How to make how that would work and stuff, and
sure.
And also, if we revisit that campaign, that may come back up.
So I hope we do. Honestly, the way we're doing these
Consequences.
Tuesday night things, I hope we just keep doing our same ones when we come back around. I would love to play
Cycle through.
Masters again and Moon Rises and Dungeons and Delving, another season of that, and hopefully maybe an Just Quest 4. We'll see. And whatever Steven comes up with. I mean, it's a long time between rotations, so.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe we'll do
12
shorter
weeks.
ones. Maybe we'll do 6 and stuff. 6 episodes.
12's okay. I don't know. What is that? I mean, so it's like a year for us to all go through.
Yeah. We'll see. We're playing around with it. It's fun. I mean, we got a great group, I think. I love playing all these games with you guys because I just like role playing with y'all. So
yeah,
I don't care so much what games we play. It's just fun. But I like all the characters that we come up with are a lot of fun.
There is a thing that I'm like thinking about that I haven't really talked to you guys about yet that much. Or an idea for a show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You want to pitch it live?
I not yet. Well, I will say, like, if you go over to DMG Info's channel, he's got this really cool, interesting way that he's doing terrain nowadays, and it is geared towards gaming online.
Okay.
But it is physical terrain. And like, he talks about being depressed because he wasn't really like he was making all this terrain, but he wasn't using it. He wasn't playing games in person. Like anything he was doing was online. And he's like, I do all this stuff and I never get to use it. So from that, like he completely redesigned how he does his terrain in order to use it on his streams. And I don't know. I found it to be kind of super dope. And also, like, even if you're just into like dioramas or like that kind of stuff, it's kind of cool for that as well.
I'll check it out.
I would have pitched him for a show.
Okay. See, have you ever made a terminally ill NPC allowed their body to be possessed to extend their life or suppress the illness? So that's another one of those cases where it's like there's that bridge to the players, like somebody they care about. Maybe that's an avenue they can go on a quest to fulfill that wish to extend their life, right? Their friend that's dying or whatever has some purpose to it.
Or if you just do it, and then the players have to make these hard decisions of what to do. Like, depending on the group I played with, they would just paste that NPC.
Really?
Some of the groups, yeah. I remember, like, one of the very first games we played with
Scott, just euthanize them. Like, well, we'll just put them out of their misery.
One of the very first games we played with Scott Garraby was we were playing at Seventh Dimension, is a game store in the Philadelphia area. And we were hunting down a criminal, and there was some kind of like mystical being that only appears like every 100 years or whatever. And like our main lead was this guy was like a hunter, and there's like no way he would turn down this opportunity. But at the same time, some of the players are like, we don't want to see this mythical creature get hunted and murdered, right? And killed. But the flip side of it was, it's like, it was something like if you killed it and ate its heart, like you would get these like powers beyond powers.
Okay.
The downside was it would create a magical null void for like 5 miles. And like, so like our group was like, oh, we must preserve this thing and make sure no harm comes to it. And he's like, and Scott's like, man, the groups I've played with in the past, they would have murdered that thing and drank it like a Slurpee.
Wow, really?
For the power boosts for their characters.
Jeez.
And you know what? I've played with those groups in the past as well.
What's the appeal there?
Of power gaming, of just like...
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you think, to some extent, like, we play these games, it's like, well, you want to fulfill your fantasies. It's like, people have violent fantasies, I guess, is what conclusion I come to a lot.
Sometimes they do. I feel like that's it might be a little bit older school gaming as well.
Yeah, but I mean, if you described it like, oh yeah, you have to protect this thing, or like a void will open for a 5-mile radius, your takeaway is like, we can get the power if we eat its heart. Oh, yeah, let's go do that.
Yeah.
Chris Housley said it would not be a huge stretch to adapt the Pact of Talisman Warlock for possession plots. I'm playing one right now, and I like the Talisman because it does things if other people have it. So I lent it out thinking that sort of thing several times.
So it kind of came up in my fan game this weekend.
Oh yeah,
someone was playing one, and like they were fleeing from a kind of a supernatural winter storm.
Okay,
and they found like a hollowed out hill, like an animal den. It was kind of a tight fit. So one of the players went into the ring and after handing it to another player.
Genie.
Yeah. To make space.
Is a different thing. It's
also that was the most
like the Pact.
Oh yeah.
But never mind. The Genie. Okay, gotcha.
For whatever reason, I guess because they came out together, I can't confuse the two.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the most international game I played in. So
yeah, you're telling me that sounded really.
We had someone from Israel, Germany, Belgium, Denmark, and Canada, and me from here in the U.S.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's really cool.
It is. It was a lot of fun too. So it's one of the upsides to us gaming online.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Question: are animated armor possessed like Alphonse from Full Metal Alchemist? I mean, certainly flavor your animated armor like that. It's got some kind of force animating it.
Although we did. So I don't know. Cursed Straw's been out a long time now, right?
Yeah. So, you can. It's no spoilers.
Yeah. Warning. So like, there's this fisherman on a lake that you find, and it turns out he's dumping a body. Right, and the body that we found was Ismark.
Yeah,
those names are all like so similar, but so we needed to move it around, and I guess it was at the tower. We got a what was it? Something, I forget what the actual magic item is. My character has it, but it gives you control of a suit of animated armor.
Okay.
And so I have that, my manservant Jeeves now. And the GM let us stuff Ismart's body in the animated armor.
Oh my god.
So we wouldn't have to carry him around, and we could kind of disguise it.
Wow, it's like Weekend at Bernie's.
We totally Weekend as Bernie's his ass.
Oh, that's really neat. That's a great idea. Yeah, that's a great place to end a session. I've done that before where it's like, you spot and you see this guy like pick up this sack and it's kind of moving around and dumps it in the freezing water, and that's where we'll pick up next time. It's like, ooh, bam.
Yeah. I mean, that was a lot of fun. Although, had we had more forethought, we might have saved him before he was dead.
Well, as I recall, I mean, in the text is written, it's like, it's a big ass lake and he ain't close to the shore. And to be able to, and you see him because it's a big glassy lake and there's, it's still, it's clear that there's somebody on it.
Our wizard cast fly on Orvo the Barbarian, and we sent him out to go. So he did, and he investigated, and instead of retrieving the sack right away, he pulled the boat back to shore.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe we should have gotten the sack right away.
Well, that's the interesting thing about Curse of Strahd. Like a lot of people over time, they're like, how can I make Curse of Strahd more creepy or more dark or more scary? I always tell people, like, just run it like it is. Because it's like, even if you're down to the crunchy, like, distance and stuff, you probably cannot save that guy. I mean, it's like a big lake. And you're like, I think, it's sort of described, it's like you're like a mile away or a half a mile away. It's like there's no way. If you just can't do it. They would drown before he's supposed to die. It's like if you overcome things like that, you are like super heroic.
Not by D&D rules for holding your breath, though. You can hold your breath for like ever.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, if something was like 2,700 feet away, and you were doing the math, how fast, how many rounds would it take you to get there?
Yeah. I don't know what's fly 60, and you can dash, I guess.
Yeah, so 120.
You need to be the speed character that we built. Then you can get there
Yeah,
in time.
and a monk that can run across the water. So
Yeah, a Tabaxi monk. Yeah, you
yeah,
can probably do it. You can
it,
get there.
I think it would take you like 44 rounds to get there.
Yeah,
About. So yeah,
he's
you'd be
going to
dead.
drag.
Yeah, it is dark. Or even like with the old bone grinder, like when they first introduced like the lady with the cart giving out dream pastries. There's no mention of anything about what they're made of or anything. And then you
Yeah,
find out
so we
like,
never
oh, it's
got
little
that
kids'
part of it.
bones.
We never got to that part of it. We skipped that part and went right to the windmill.
Mm.
Well,
Yeah,
because we've got like a couple rangers,
mm-hmm.
and with primeval awareness, it's like, first of all, I don't know how useful it is in Curse of Strahd, because all it does is go off. And if your favorite terrain happens to be one of the terrains that you're in, it's like all of Barovia, essentially, because like Barovia is so tiny.
Yeah, it's just a mountain valley. Yeah, so yeah, when she's in Barovia, and then just like she's gets a cart going door to door, and people are like, like, oh, it's the green pastries, it's, like, oh, and you can try to get one, and then you
It's
find out,
like
oh,
veal.
it's the flour's made from the bones of children.
Like veal.
Yeah,
Basically.
I think she even kidnaps a kid. Like one of the, it's like,
Yeah.
they you make a perception check. She just like is arguing with a family and like, nope, I'm taking your kid, and like stuffs him in a sack and leaves.
Well, I think when we encountered like two of the hags were in the windmill. One of them was coming back, and I think there was supposed to be a kid with the hag coming back. But the GM was like, I'm not doing that because we fireballed that hag. So that part was kind of edited out.
So we strayed from possession a bit, but that's okay. We always do.
Well, possession and Ravenloft kind of go hand in hand.
True, there you go. Huh, a Banderhead. Oh no, that's just has the word possession. I was like, a Banderhead can possess you?
Isn't that what ate you in the Dungeons and Delving game?
Yeah. Man, I almost bit it there. Well, almost went down, I should say. It's pretty hard to kill that character. Yak folk can possess you things.
You're dying to go down with that character.
Oh yeah.
Because like you have a bunch of things for that, right?
Yeah, I know that. It's funny because I chose that Undying pack because I was like, to me, it just seems like the worst one. It's like, it sucks. But I thought of like a cool, story and stuff. I was like, I'll try it. And our games aren't super like deadly anyway.
Yeah.
But it's like after playing, it's like they are really tough and cool. But it's like, man, if it's like I can't really swing a sword, my spells aren't good. But if you knock me down to 0, I'll probably get back up. It's like, that's a pretty shitty superpower. I'll get back up and still not be that effective, but I'll get back up.
I will come back and harass you some more.
So it's basically confirmed my suspicions. It's like, yeah, that's pretty crappy. It's like your superpower is that, all the features where other people get cool stuff just means like, if I go down, I'll get back up. It's like, but you'd probably be less likely to go down if you had all the cool features that everybody else has.
That is true.
Right? It's kind of like I always say, like, when people want to make like a melee wizard class, and it's like, all their features are just about like being, fighting better with swords or whatever.
What race are you? I know you're a hollow one, right? But like
a variant human. That's how I justified it being a hollow one, because it's like it's a lot of benefits, and I was like, well, if I'm variant human, that'll be the feat that I take.
Okay.
Because it's kind of like a super, it's pretty feety. There's a lot of stuff. It's like you don't age, you're like immune to poison, and if you roll a 16 or better on a death save, you just get up with 1 hit point.
Oh yeah, that is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Now you just need something to give you advantage on death saves.
I do. My talisman.
Oh, okay. So that's pretty. You're gonna keep rolling like 15 and under on
another feature of the talisman is that if you fail a saving throw, you can roll if you fail a saving throw, you can roll a D4 and add it to it.
Okay.
To the roll, potentially turning into a success. So I don't know. Would you rule that if like, with the Hollow 1 power, would it have to be 16 on the D20 or just a total like 16 or higher? So like if I use my talisman, like if I rolled a 15 and then the talisman and got like 2, so 17, would that work?
So you can then hop up with 1 hit point. Yeah, I'd give it to you. You probably end up getting smacked right back.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's tanky side, though, man. It's tanky.
On the plus side, it happens at the beginning of your turn, as opposed to most things that happen on the end of your turn. So you could actually get up and take your turn and kind of help with that. I mean, when we were playing the Esper the Bard game, and I went down and I rolled that nat 20 on a death save, like that was the only time I ever did that. That felt really good. And he actually lasted for another like couple rounds before he died forever.
I guess that's how I kind of built Tabitha. It's like a tank in the sense it's like you're just going to be annoying. It's like I'll just getting up in your face like all talisman. It's like you can teleport to like something nearby. So it's like I'm just gonna stick to people like glue, and if I have a turn, then I'll do something annoying. I picked a bunch of spells that like did stuff, not beyond damage. Like chill touch, where it's like, they take damage and they can't heal, or just other things. So it's like even if she just gets 1 round, it's gonna do something.
Oh, so you know what? Like that makes me think of like using spells in like fun and unusual ways. So, the game that I ran this weekend, one of the players had a spell that destroys water, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have an encounter that's coming up in one of the patron rewards where there's mist, like fog, and there's also like.
Oh, you use that?
Yeah, cool. And I also described there being water on the ground,
mm-hmm.
And they used it. I'm like, well, since the mist and the fog is technically water too, I'm like, yeah, that's going to eliminate that. It's going to come right back, in a round or two, but it cleared it out for.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I love that stuff.
Yeah. Cool. It was a 6th level party, so I had to beef it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. But oh, really? What did we put it as? 5th?
4th, I think.
Oh. Yeah, that's just a case of, in case anybody gets their products and like, well, they trounced this thing. The only metric we have is the CR system, so it's like that's what it would be. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Doug always whips us back in line because I'm like, you know what? These monsters, 1 fireball, they're all gone.
I mean, it's the only like baseline thing that you can say. But that's why we often throw in other hazards and stuff too, which I kind of weighted towards like that's some pretty nasty stuff, and there's like you get restrained and
it was fun. It worked out. We are passed by a bit now.
We're just drawing away here.
Time flies when you're having fun.
We're like people possessed.
Yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow night for some Dungeons and Delving. I'll be here every day, Monday through Friday, 12 noon, with cool people from the industry. Tomorrow is Antonio D'Amico from Dragon Stew, but also the Hexbound Kickstarter as well that's going on now.
Got mine in the mail.
Yeah. Oh, that's a thick book.
Yeah. It's got big font.
It's written like a children's book. I kid. I have no idea. No, I like the art, and it says he's an artist. So I don't know if he did the art and wrote it.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, I interviewed him for the site a while back. It was cool.
Oh yeah. I grabbed that link for the art the thing tomorrow for people to check out. Yeah. So I mean, we got cool things going all week. Last Friday we had Mr. Rex on, and like which is cool because he's one of the YouTubers that I recommend when we're talking about a video. And I'm like, we're not going to go in deep into lore for this, but if you want good lore, you go check out Mr. Rex or Jordan. The PH is silent because those folks do such a great job with that stuff. And I discovered that he actually lives in New Jersey.
Mr. X?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
On the other end of it, but
it's a small state.
So, it is relatively small.
Yeah,
so that's kind of cool. But anyway, with that, let's wrap things up, and we will catch you next time. Until then, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy. Nailed it.